Today on MTG Unpacked, we're getting stuck into the Wilds of Eldraine Commander deck, Fey Dominion. So this is a blue-black deck. Summon flocks of fairies and play tricks. So what do we get here? A collector booster sample pack. 100 card deck with 10 new cards, deck box, 10 double-sided tokens, foil etch display, commander life rule, strategy, insert, and reference card. Okay, so let's get into it. So they like to have little sayings here. Small fairies, big trouble. And these are going for about 35 to 45 US. So I would definitely not overpay on this. They'll probably be cheaper in the coming months. Okay, so let's see here. We've got our deck crammed in the bottom here. Okay, so I guess we take that out the side like so. And yeah, we've got some punch outs here. That is it. Alright. And then what is in the little thing here? Okay, so we've got our collector booster sample pack. Let's see what we get in this thing. So really just getting a couple of cards. Nothing too crazy. So we have Makeover Montage. Okay. We've got Court of Embereth. Okay, so that is a non-foil extended art, followed by a foil Garrick's Uprising. You will most likely get something different from your pack. Okay, let's see what else we've got here. A deck box. So this looks like... Oh, we've got our life wheel in here. So you could sleeve that up and pop that in there. Alright, and our life wheel, they do these going up to... Is this one going to be jammed? No. I did have one that was jammed one time. So these go up to 40. Yep. Alright, and our deck itself. So the flyer will tell us about this. What is this about? Fey Dominion playing the deck. Okay, so small fairies, incremental advantages, instants and spells during your opponent's turn. We have some commander rules here in case you're new to the format. And then on the other side, the commander here is Tegwell, Duke of Splendor. So you can learn about the commander there. Okay, and then we will get stuck into the deck. So they actually have two commander decks this time around. We will be covering the other one shortly. And here we go. We've got the little thing down here to open this up. Okay, starting with... Where's our display commander? Yeah, this is on the top here. Okay, so a foil etched display commander. So purely for display, you're not shuffling this into your deck. We've got Tegwell, Duke of Splendor. It's a mythic. Okay, so I'll pop that up there and then cut the deck. So we have our lands like so. We'll take a look at those later and let's see what this is all about. So like I said a moment ago, Tegwell, Duke of Splendor, legendary creature, fairy noble, 2/3 for 3 with flying and death touch. Other fairies you control get +1/+1, and whenever another fairy you control dies, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. He weaves glamours as easily as breathing, his otherworldly beauty entrancing Fae and mortal alike. Alright, so we get another one here. So you could use either one as the commander. Alela, Cunning Conqueror, legendary creature, fairy, warlock, another mythic. 2/4 for 4 with flying. Whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, create a 1/1 black fairy rogue creature token with flying. And whenever one or more fairies you control deal combat damage to a player, go target creature that player controls. Okay, so we're going to be playing a bunch of instants on the opponent's turn. I think that's the goal here. We have Archmage of Echoes, creature, fairy, wizard, 4/4 for 5 with flying, and ward 2. So that means the opponent has to pay 2 to target this one. Whenever you cast a fairy or wizard permanent spell, copy it. And we've got Malleable Imposter, creature, fairy, shapeshifter, 0/0 for 4 with flash and flying. You may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature an opponent controls, except it's a fairy shapeshifter. in addition to its other types, and it has flying. Okay, so shapeshifters are another theme here. Misleading signpost, artifact for 3 with flash. When it enters battlefield during the declare attacker step, you may reselect which player or permanent target attacking creature is attacking. Tap for blue. Okay, so we've got an artifact there. Shadow Puppeteers, creature fairy wizard 4/4 for 7 with flying and ward 2. When it enters battlefield, create 2 1/1 black fairy rogue creature tokens with flying. And whenever a creature you control with flying attacks, you may have it become a red dragon with base power and toughness 4/4 in addition to its other colours and types until end of turn. And Blightwing Bandit, creature fairy rogue 2/2 for 4 with flying and death touch. Whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, look at the top card of that player's library, then exile it face down. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled, and mana of any type can be spent to cast it. Nice. So stealing your opponent's creatures and so forth. Fairy Bladecrafter, creature fairy rogue 2/2 for 3 with flying. Whenever one or more fairies you control deal combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on Fairy Bladecrafter. And when it dies, each opponent loses X life, and you gain X life where X is its power. We've got a Netling Nuisance, creature fairy rogue 3/1 for 3 with flying. Whenever one or more fairies you control deal combat damage to a player, that player creates a 4/2 red pirate creature token with this creature can't block. The token is goaded for the rest of the game, so that means that it attacks each combat if able and attacks a player other than you if able. We got Tegwill's Scouring, sorcery for 6. You may cast it as though it had flash by tapping 3 untapped creatures you control with flying in addition to paying its other costs. Destroy all creatures. Create 3 1/1 black fairy rogue creature tokens with flying. Your season has ended. We are eternal. Ooh, and I've got a Brazen Borrower in here. Nice. Mythic creature fairy rogue. It's a 3/1 for 3 with flash and flying, and it can block only creatures with flying, or if you cast it as the instant adventure, Petty Theft for 1 and a blue, return target non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand. That is a very nice include. We have Dig Through Time, instant 4/8 has Delve, so each card you exile from your graveyard while casting the spell pays for 1. Look at the top 7 cards of your library, put 2 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Next up we've got Fairy Formation, creature fairy 5/4 for 5 with flying for 3 and a blue. Create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying, draw a card. And Glen Alendra Archmage, that's a decent one. Creature fairy wizard 2/2 for 4 with flying for a blue, and sacrifice it. You get to counter target non-creature spell. Also has persist, so when this creature dies, if it had no -1/-1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a -1/-1 counter on it. Hullbreaker Horror, creature Kraken Horror 7/8 for 7 with flash. Your spell can't be countered. Whenever you cast a spell, choose up to 1. Return target spell you don't control to its owner's hand, or return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. We've got Illusionist's Gambit, instant for 4. Cast a spell only during the declare blocker's step on an opponent's turn. Remove all attacking creatures from combat and untap them. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Each of those creatures attacks that combat if able. They can't attack you or planeswalkers you control that combat. We've got a Midnight Clock, artifact for 3. Tap for blue for 2 and a blue. Put an hour counter on it. And at the beginning of each upkeep, put a hour counter on it. And when the 12th hour is put on it, shuffle your hand and graveyard into your library. Then draw 7 cards. Exile Midnight Clock. We've got a Perplexing Test, instant for 5. Choose 1. Return all creature tokens to their owner's hands, or return all non-token creatures to their owner's hands. Reflections of Litjara, so I remember this one from Kaldheim. Enchantment for 5. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, copy that spell. And Scion of Una, creature fairy soldier 1/1 for 3 with flash and flying. Other fairy creatures you control get +1/+1. Other fairies you control have Shroud, so that means they can't be the target of spells or abilities. And I'm assuming we're going to get Una in here as well. We got Sower of Temptation, creature, fairy, wizard, 2/2 for 4 with flying. When it enters battlefield, gain control of target creature for as long as Sower of Temptation remains on the battlefield. And Theoretical Duplication, instant for 3. Whenever a non-token creature enters battlefield under an opponent's control this turn, create a token that's a copy of that creature. So we're doing a ton of copying stuff here. Kindred Dominance, sorcery for 7, choose a creature type. Destroy all creatures that aren't of the chosen type. So you're going to pick fairies for this deck. And the next part here, we have Nightmare Unmaking. Sorcery for 5, choose one. Exile each creature with power greater than the number of cards in your hand. Exile each creature with power less than the number of cards in your hand. And Puppeteer Click. Creature, fairy, wizard, 3/2 for 5 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, put target creature card from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It gains haste. At the beginning of your next end step, exile it. This one also has Persist. Ooh, and it's Rankle. Master of Pranks, legendary creature, fairy, rogue, 3/3 for 4 with flying and haste. Whenever Rankle deals combat damage to a player, choose any number. Each player discards a card. Each player loses 1 life and draws a card. Each player sacrifices a creature. And Thrilling Encore, instant for 5. Put onto the battlefield under your control all creature cards in all graveyards that were put there from the battlefield this turn. That is nutty. So you could do like a board wipe and then bring everything from everybody back under your control. We got Glenelendra Liege, creature, fairy, knight, 2/3 for 4 with flying. Other blue creatures you control get +1/+1. Other black creatures you control get +1/+1. And Nimrus, Una's Trickster, legendary creature, fairy, knight, 1/6 for 5 with flash and flying. Whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand and the other into your graveyard. Mischief is its own reward. Here we go. Una, Queen of the Fae, legendary creature, fairy, wizard, 5/5 for 6 with flying. For X and either blue or black, choose a color. Target opponent exiles the top X cards of their library. For each card of the chosen color exiled this way, create a 1/1 blue and black fairy rogue creature token with flying. And we've got a land here. Choked Estuary. As it enters battlefield, you may reveal an island or swamp card from your hand. If you don't, it enters battlefield tap for blue or black. We've got a Darkwater Catacombs, another land. For 1, tap, add blue and black. Exotic Orchard, another land. Tap to add mana of any color that a land an opponent controls could produce. Secluded Glen, it's a land. As it enters battlefield, you may reveal a fairy card from your hand. If you don't, it enters battlefield tap for blue or black. Sunken Hollow, tap for blue or black, enters tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. And Temple of Deceit, enters battlefield tapped. When it enters battlefield, scry 1, tap for blue or black. We've got a Mocking Sprite, creature, fairy, rogue, 2/1 for 3 with flying. Instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. That is awesome. Picklock Prankster, creature, fairy, rogue. It's a 1/3 with flying and vigilance for 2. Or you can do the instant adventure, free the Fae for 1 and a blue, mill 4 cards, then put an instant sorcery or fairy card from among the milled cards into your hand. Spell Stutter, instant for 2, counter target spell unless its controller pays 2, plus an additional 1 for each fairy you control. Obira, Dreaming Duelist, legendary creature, fairy, warrior, 2/2 for 2 with flash and flying. Whenever another fairy enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life. Spellscorn Coven, creature, fairy, warlock, 2/3 for 4, has Take It Back for 2 and a blue, instant adventure, return target spell to its owner's hand, or the creature portion is a fairy, warlock, 2/3 for 4, flying. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. Arcane Denial, instant for 2, counter target spell. Its controller may draw up to 2 cards at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. You draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. Cloud of Fairies, creature, fairy, 1/1 for 2 with flying. When it enters battlefield, untap up to 2 lands. You can cycle it for 2. Consider, instant for a single blue, surveil 1. So look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard. Draw a card. Distant Melody, sorcery for 4. Choose a creature type, draw a card for each permanent you control of that type. Fairy Seer, creature, fairy, wizard, 1/1 for a single blue, flying. When it enters battlefield, scry 2. Fact or fiction instant for 4. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library. An opponent separates them into 2 piles. Put one into your hand and the other pile into your graveyard. Frantic Search instant for 3. Draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. Untap up to 3 lands. And Hypnotic Sprite. Creature Fairy flying 2/1 for 2. Or Mesmeric Glare instant adventure for 2 and a blue. Counter target spell with mana value 3 or less. We got Keep Watch instant for 3. Draw a card for each attacking creature. And Night Veil Sprite, Creature Fairy Rogue 1/2 for 2 with flying. Whenever it attacks, surveil 1. We got Opt instant for blue. Scry 1, draw a card. Quickling, Creature Fairy Rogue 2/2 for 2 with flash and flying. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you return another creature you control to its owner's hand. Reality Shift instant for 2. Exile target creature. Its controller manifests the top card of their library. So that means that player puts the top card of their library onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature. If it's a creature card, it can be turned face up anytime for its mana cost. Reconnaissance Mission enchantment for 4. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card, cycle it for 2. Repulse instant for 3. Return target creature to its owner's hand, draw a card. So there's a lot of cards here to steal your opponent's creatures or bounce them back to their hand or otherwise get rid of them. We have Runaway Together instant for 2. Choose 2 target creatures controlled by different players. Return those creatures to their owner's hands. Snap instant for 2. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Untap up to 2 lands. Good riddance. Reckless Spite instant for 3. Destroy 2 target non-black creatures. You lose 5 life. And Halo Forager. Creature Fairy Rogue 3/1 for 3 with flying. When it enters battlefield, you may pay X. When you do, you may cast target instant or sorcery card with mana value X from a graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be put into a graveyard, exile it instead, so you can use your opponent's stuff as well. Arcane Signet Artifact for 2. Tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. And Demir Signet Artifact for 2. Pay 1 tap, add blue and black. We've got a Fellwell Stone Artifact for 2. These are pretty much in all the commander decks these days. Tap to add 1 mana of any color that a land an opponent controls could produce. Mind Stone Artifact for 2. Tap 4 colorless for 1 tap. Sack it, draw a card. And I was wondering when we'd see these. Soul Ring Artifact for 1. Tap for 2 colorless. We've got a Talisman of Dominance Artifact for 2. Tap for colorless or tap for blue or black, and it deals 1 damage to you. And Wayfarer's Bauble Artifact for 1. For 2, tap, sack it. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Okay, so that is the bulk of the deck. Let's see what this mana base is about. So we've seen some of the lands already. So we'll see what else they've got here. Bajuka Bog enters battlefield tapped. When it enters battlefield, exile target player's graveyard. Okay, some graveyard hate here. Tap 4 black. Command Tower. Tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Demir Aqueduct enters tapped. When it enters battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand. Tap for blue and black. Fairy Conclave enters tapped. Tap for blue for 1 and blue. It becomes a 2/1 blue fairy creature with flying into end of turn. It's still a land. We got Myriad Landscape enters tapped. Tap for colorless for 2. Tap, sack it. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards that share a land type. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. We got Path of Ancestry enters tapped. Tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity, and when that mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, scry 1. Tainted Isle, tap for colorless or tap for blue or black. Activate only if you control a swamp. And Temple of the False God. It's a land, tap for 2 colorless. Activate only if you control 5 or more lands. Okay, so now we've got some basics. So islands, 13 of those, and swamps, 12 of those, unless I miscounted. Okay. So then we have the tokens here to wrap things up. So we've got a Fairy Rogue token, 1/1 with flying. I think you're going to need a lot of those. A 4/2 Pirate on the other side. This creature can't block. We've got the Fairy Rogue and Pirate. Okay, Fairy Rogue, Pirate, Fairy Rogue. And this one on the other side has a 1/1 Flying Fairy. Got the Fairy Rogue again. Same deal on the other side. Fairy Rogue with Flying, 1/1. On the other side, Fairy with Flying, 1/1. We've got the Rogue and the Fairy. Okay. Another one of those. And on the back of this one, we have a copy token. Fairy Rogue and copy token. And we've got the parts of the turn and popular Magic formats. Okay, so a fairy themed deck. You're basically doing a lot of stuff to disrupt your opponents, stealing their cards, grabbing stuff from their graveyard, making them pay extra to target you. And of course, we've got the abilities to pump up your fairies. A lot of flying creatures here. So this looks like a fun deck overall. Like I said, don't overpay. There's currently about $80 US of card value here. That will drop in the coming days and weeks ahead. So I would suggest you might want to hold off on buying this one unless you can get a decent deal on it. Let me know in the comments what you think about this deck, and shortly we'll be taking a look at the other Wilds of Eldraine Commander deck. And if you've missed any of our Wilds of Eldraine videos, I'll pop a link in the corner to the complete playlist. Hope everyone's staying safe and healthy out there. Thanks for watching and have a great day.